Hello everyone, this is Auru Sanchez with,
Eliza Abramson.
and we're very excited to be doing another video for you guys. And today's video is all about interviewing, but specifically, we're going to be talking about when you're actually in that big room, in the room waiting for your name to be called for the interview. Now, the question is, what should you be doing during that time? What should you be thinking of? What should you actually be observing? What are the patterns that you should be looking for when you're waiting to be called for the interview that could help you ace that interview and beat everyone else? Elise has some amazing insights. I'll also mention some, but let's have her begin first.
Okay, guys, I've actually been going on several interviews lately, and so far, every single interview that I've gone to, except for one using this technique, I've gotten into the second round. So this really works, this stuff that I'm about to tell you, so I wanted to share it with you guys. Okay, so you're sitting in this room and you're waiting to get called, and you're looking around at everyone else, and everyone else is doing a couple of things, right? They're either on their phones or they're really nervous and they're looking around and they're like pulling at their fingers. They're like just being super anxious looking, right? And the reason that they're being so super anxious is because they're thinking in their head, what if I'm not good enough? What if I don't get the job? How can I pay my bills? How can I do this? They're just like letting all that fear from the reptilian part of their brain just take over, right? So what happens is when you think like that and then you go into that interview, the interviewer comes out and they see that you're all this anxious and everything like that, and they start to think, well, why is this person so scared? Are they not qualified for this job? Because they think too logically. It's not really a rational thing that we're thinking about. And then they'll start to analyze whether or not you're really qualified for the job. What you have to really try to achieve is this calm exterior, right? The way that you do that is you start thinking about, well, this interview is not just about whether I'm a good fit for this job, but whether this job is a good fit for me, right? You have to start to research that company and learn about that company a little bit to see, do I really want to work here? Don't do all of your research before the interview. Leave yourself some questions that you can ask at the interview, guys, because when you go into that interview, you're going to be thinking, well, it sounds pretty good, and that's the only reason that you're at that interview, because some of the research that you've already done sounds pretty good, but you're not sure yet. And the key there is you're not sure. So when you go in, you sound like, listen, this could be a really cool thing, but I don't know yet. Let's figure it out. It's like, you know, who here has been on a date where like you show up and the other person is like, wow, do you want to go on a second date with me? Are we going to go out on a second date?
Oh my God.
Can we?
Oh my God.
Who wants to go out on a second date with that person?
I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding.
No one. But if you go in and you're like, hey, what's up? Like, let's get to know each other a little bit. It's a lot more relaxed. The person isn't sitting there and trying to figure out if you're so qualified. They're just going to sit there and see if you're a good fit. And that's what you want to aim for. You want to see if you're a good fit. What do you think about that so far?
So I just have a quick question, if you don't mind what you mentioned. You're telling everyone that, and I see where you're going. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Sure.
You're saying that they should do most of their research, but not all their research before going to the interview. But then doesn't that mean that they didn't prepare completely, and shouldn't you prepare for an interview?
Well, let me ask you a counter question then.
Go.
How do you prepare completely for an interview? Where's the marker of complete preparation?
You mean like objectively?
Yeah.
Well, some people would say once you have a bunch of questions written down, you've done all your research on their policies, on the people who work there, on their why, on their culture, and all that stuff.
So it's very hard to actually gather all that information because most companies will actually hide a lot of that information from you, or the information they'll present you with is not information that's 100% what it actually is. So I'm not saying like show up and say like, I don't even know what this company's called. Don't do that. I did that once. Wasn't a good idea. Don't do that, guys. But go in with some questions, some open-minded things like, well, what are the values of this company? Like, look up what their mission statement is, but don't go so in depth. Have kind of a broader idea, and then ask the person to kind of sell you a little bit on the company. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's say I know. Let's say I'm coming to you. I'm like, listen,
Okay.
I know that your channel is all about communication, but what does your channel bring that other channels don't?
Oh, this is like a real thing? You want to role
That
play
would
it
be
out?
like an example,
Oh,
like a
an
question,
example.
right?
Okay, makes sense.
So you show that you have done research, you know what their channel is about, but you want to know more, right? And you're coming in to see if there's a better fit. So you're not coming in saying like, listen, I didn't do any research because I'm going to ace this interview. You're not coming in with a bunch of ego. You're coming in with a lot of research done, but still some questions saying like, listen, I still want to check it out. I'm not 100% sold on you, because that means that they need to sell you a little bit more.
So you're basically, that makes so much sense. Now it makes a lot more sense. You're 100% correct. So you're basically saying that, yes, be prepared for the interview, know about their stuff, but have them sell you, right? Have them prove to you why they should, why you should be interested in going to work for them.
100%.
So it's like a 50-50 relationship. They give and you also give too.
Yes.
So you shouldn't always be, don't always be 100% nervous, because remember, they need you. That's why they're hiring people, right? And if you have the right skills and you have the experience, guess what? They need you to have to make more money, to get more clientele, to build brand awareness. They need you for a certain reason. So it's a lot of people make an interview into an unhealthy relationship where they feel like
There's no balance.
there's no balance, where basically you need them more than they need you, correct?
Correct.
Good. Now there's another thing I want to mention before Lisa goes on to her other points, which are basically that what I love to do during the interview, before going inside the interview and I'm in that room, can you please hold this?
Yeah.
Thank you. So as I'm actually in that room, what I love to do is I look around me. I look who's sitting next to me, who's like across from me, whatever the case is. I'm there, and what I'll literally do, because people barely ever do this, because everyone's so nervous, right? I start speaking to whoever's next to me, right? I'll try to make eye contact, and whoever gives it to me first, I'll start speaking to them. And listen, if they're nervous and I'm nervous, I'll mention, hey, we're both nervous. Where are you from? What position are you feeling in? I'll try to make some small talk. Basically, the whole purpose of doing the small talk is this. I'm building rapport with this person. I'm warming up my jaw muscles. I'm becoming more warmed up so that my mindset goes from scared to I'm excited. You need to change your mindset from I'm really scared to I'm excited to do this interview, to meet this person, to maybe even getting this job and getting a raise or whatever the case is, right? So I'm building rapport with them. They're building rapport with me. Then I start to change my mindset. I start to get more positive, more excited. They start to feel the same thing. It starts to get contagious. People around me are seeing this. They're like, oh, this is really different. Everyone's mindset changes. Everyone's like, wow, he's doing this, something that people barely ever do. Okay, everyone else is starting to notice this. If there's secretaries or people who are coming out to call you in, and once they come on, they call you, and you're doing this, they see this. They see you as a very social person, maybe as an extrovert. Even if you're introverted, but okay, he's extroverted, he's social, he has certain skills. When people and companies see that you have good public speaking skills, you have good social skills, good communication skills, that's already a huge bonus, right? Now they're seeing this live other than in paper. Because sometimes they'll ask you, what are your strong suits? And people will put communication. But now they're actually seeing this. So not only is it helping you, right? But it's helping the other people in that same room. It's helping them. They're feeling positive. And you're like, listen, I hope that you get the job, right? And then they might even tell you, no, I hope you get the job. So and now everyone's giving each other, validation, and positive validation. So it's a beautiful thing happening. You're getting validation, they're getting validation, you're becoming more excited, they're becoming more excited. People are seeing you doing this, so they see they see your qualities, and the communication realm is higher. Everything is going towards you, everything's helping you, that as soon as you go into this room, you're warmed up, you're ready. Probably they saw you speaking up, they might even ask you, oh, what were you talking about? Or they might even mention, I've never seen anyone do what you just did. What made you want to do that? So it can go in so many directions, but only positive directions. Try it out. I've done this in almost every interview I've gone to. I just start speaking to people, right? And automatically I feel more confident. You feel more confident. If you feel a certain way, you'll think a certain way, and then all the emotions you feel underneath start to change into the better way. And it's that simple.
Let me ask you one question actually about that before we pull back to my point.
Go ahead.
So what do you do about, let's say someone starts to list their qualifications and they're just way more qualified for you? How do you not let oh my gosh, the competition here is so strong. How do you not let that fear overcome you?
So what I'll do is I'll listen to their qualifications, right? I'll listen to what their qualifications, and then I'll ask them, how did you get so qualified? Literally, I'll start to feed their ego. I'll feed their ego. Really? How did you get so many? How did you get your 32 certifications? How did you get so much experience in sales in China? How did you do this? Then I move the conversation away from me to them, and now guess what? I'm learning from them. I'm taking information from them. So let's say, right now, I have in my head. Let's say I do get the job. Maybe I want to be like this person, get all these qualifications, and now I know how to do it. And you know something? There's always going to be someone more qualified than you. there's always going to be someone who's better looking than you, stronger than you, more athletic than you. So if you can have this in your head that someone's always going to be better than you and always one-up you, right? Who cares if someone is more qualified? A lot of times, people who are more qualified don't even get the job. There's something that you have, there's probably a power that you contain, that you have, that surpasses a lot of things that they have. So yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. The other point that I wanted to go into, guys, this one is so important. A lot of times what a lot of companies do now is they have an HR department, right?
Correct.
Now, one of the big things that HR does is they do all the hiring, right? So there are people whose job literally is to just interview people all day, every single day, the whole year, right? Now, when your job is just interviewing people over and over and over and over and over, what happens is you start to get a script, right? And you start to say, I say this, and then I say this, and then I say this, right? And it just kind of comes out, right? And then if you start to see people one after another, after another, after another, they start to kind of blur in your head, right? So at one of the jobs that I interviewed at, I saw that basically what was happening was like this room was full of people, and there were 3 people interviewing. Sorry, not 2, 3 people. And they would come out, they would call a name, someone would go in like super, super nervous, excited, everything like that. 2 minutes later, they would come out and they're like, I don't even know what happened kind of expression. And I saw this happening over and over and over, and I realized that these hiring managers at these companies were just running through scripts, and everyone was blending together, which means that they weren't really checking for qualifications. It was kind of just like, who do they remember out of the pile, right? Which means that in an interview, it's more important to be memorable, in a good way memorable, not like going like strip or something, a good way memorable.
Whoa, strip.
Than overqualified, right? Like, you can have an amazing resume, everything like that. Chances are they're not reading your whole resume, guys. Just facts are, they're not reading your whole resume. Just make it look simple, presentation, everything like that. But when you go in, you need to be memorable. So I was at this interview and I saw these 2-minute things and I was like, that's not going to happen. I can't do that. So what I immediately did is when they came out, I immediately started building rapport. And instead of waiting for the interviewers to start asking questions about me, which is what she does every single day for the entire year, and she's probably sick and tired of it, I flipped it around. I started asking her about her. How did she start working here? What does she like about the company? All these different things. So she's selling it. And all of a sudden, when you ask her questions that aren't based off of the usual interview script, she can't use the script anymore, right? Which makes her think, which engages her in the conversation. Or him, whoever's interviewing you is now engaged in the conversation with you. And what happens then? They remember you, because you're not just one of the, I interviewed 20 million people today and I remember the first one and like the 30th one. Now you're interesting. You let them talk about themselves. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to talk about you at all. You got to put your own skills into that conversation in interesting ways so that they remember, right? Another quick tip is people remember through stories a lot, right? So insert little skills through stories. Like, let's say you're trying to highlight that you're very communicative. Use a story and example while you're answering a question or telling her something about yourself that highlights your communication skills. Use stories. Don't say, I'm very communicative. Don't do that. Use a story, pull it in, and try to make it a conversation with her or him.
I have a question.
Sure.
On something you mentioned, which I don't know if you do this the same way I do it, but I just want to ask you if this is what you do. And for everyone who's listening out there, maybe you can use this as well. You said that when you flip the script, where you start asking the other person questions, right? When they, like for example, you ask them questions like, what do you think about the company? What do you like about the company? When did you start? The information they're giving you about the business or about the company, do you use that information to your advantage to answer maybe later questions that they might ask you? Or you do use that information to your advantage to maybe accelerate certain things in the interview process? Do you or not?
So it's interesting, actually. I do, but I don't know if I do it the same way as you. Because I use a lot of the psychology of the interviewer, because chances are this person spends all their time asking about other people and things like that and focusing on other people, and they probably aren't remembered further down the line. Like, very often they're probably not getting a thank you card for getting them the job or moving them on to their second level. So what I like to do is show during the rest of the conversation that I remember details about what they said earlier, right? Which creates a likableness, right? If you know about the 25 cognitive biases, one of them is how much the person likes you. So I try to make them like me, right? And the way that I do that is by showing I care about you. I actually listen to what you have to say. You're not just a cog in the machine to me, right? So I'll bring up little details of what they said and pull it back in. Now, if one of those things that they said happens to be something that I excel at, that the company looks for, that they love about the company, of course I'm going to stick into that and I'm going to use that more. but I do specifically really want to make, because it's more important to me to appeal to the interviewer rather than the company, because the company isn't there at that moment. The interviewer is. So I need to get past this person to get to the next level. Once I get to the next level and I'm getting to more higher ups who are actually focused more on the company, then I'll focus more on the company. But until I'm at to that point, I'm just going to focus on getting this interviewer to like me.
All right. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. I do this actually the same thing you do.
Oh, exactly.
Exactly
Oh,
the
wow.
same thing. I wanted to ask you that question. That's why. And actually, last point before we end this video is, if you remember anything that someone mentioned to you in a previous conversation, especially I've noticed the longer it has been that you've spoken to somebody, and you can bring up certain details or maybe things that they mentioned to you, and you tell, hey, listen, I remember in our last conversation you mentioned this. Guess what? You're gonna stick out. You're gonna be memorable in their head. And then the liking bias, which one of the 25 cognitive biases that Eliza mentioned, the liking bias in their mind, in their conscience, subconscious in their conscience, they're gonna like you even more. Believe it or not, for such a small thing, for remembering a detail in a previous conversation can go such a long way, especially during an interview. So guys, thank you so much. We really appreciate you watching this video. Please subscribe, like the video,
Share it.
Tell us what you think. Put your comments.
Oh, and guys, just so you know, just based off of this video,
Yes.
you can really tell that everything that we tell you guys to do, we do it ourselves, and we wouldn't give you anything that we haven't tried or checked or seen like the research on. So this is all very trustworthy stuff, guys.
Guys, thank you guys so much, and of course, till next time.